In this video, I want to talk about how you can be anything you want in Pathfinder 2e, but you can't do everything. And this idea came about after I thought about how my players interact in the game. Now, I'm working on a system called Aetherbound. It's based off of the Pathfinder 2e system. So that's why I started talking about Pathfinder 2e. But I have a player who is a sorcerer. However, he likes to get into melee. And the thing is, I understand, I like playing Gish characters. In fact, one of my players from one of my games is the DM for another game that I'm playing in. And I'm building a sorcerer. However, I'm building the sorcerer predominantly, it's optimized as a sorcerer, but when it comes to melee, eventually it will be able to go into melee. I say it, it's a he, or he's a dragonkin, so I'll call him he. Give him enough personality, humanity, even though in Aetherbound, dragonkin do not have the humanoid trait. Either way, his name's Xavian, and his attribute modifiers, I don't like giving negatives to my characters. I was thinking about it, giving him a -1 intelligence and a +1 to strength, but then I thought I can invest into strength later. And I really should say might. I'm just going through these different editions. But might, I changed strength to might for Aetherbound. So I could give it to him now, or I can just wait until later. Because one of the big differences that I made is that in Aetherbound, you're not as front-loaded in the modifiers. In the sense that Pathfinder 2e is, because in Pathfinder 2e you get attributes based off of your species, and they call it ancestries. You get attribute modifiers based off your ancestries, your background. You get 4 free boosts from level 1, and your key attribute from your class. In Aetherbound, characters start at level 0. And I took away attribute modifiers from the species because after thinking about it, I realized, okay, I don't want to lock out species from a specific class. So I just took it away. It's not as important. So that's one big thing. I still have affinities. I have affinities instead of backgrounds, and they still give the same number of attribute boosts. And I gave 3 free attribute boosts at level 0. So you start off with less boosts, but to counteract that, I gave a boost at every level, starting at second. First level, you get a boost in your key attribute, and then second level, you can choose from whatever you want going forward. So that allows, over time, Xavian can eventually be decent in physical combat. But I've been watching quite a few of Pathfinder's videos, and I realized the difference between reliability and burst capability. And spellcasters, by spending Aether points in Pathfinder, they use spell slots, but I want to get rid of spell slots. I'm tired of spell slots. It doesn't make sense in my mind. It's like, okay, you spend all of your resources you spend all your first and second level slots, but you still have enough energy or whatever to cast this even higher level spell. And it just makes sense, at least for me, that you just have a pool of points, and when you get low, you lose access to the bigger stuff. It just makes sense for me. So for Xavian, even if I boost up either might or agility, which I changed dexterity to agility, he'll be able to attack and keep up with martial characters. That's if he casts spells. But other than that, it's like I'm trying to figure out what to go, because now he's resource, we used to call it mad. So he has so many attributes, because I want charisma because of the sorcerer thing, spells. You get Aether points, your spellcasting attack, your spellcasting DC goes based off of that. But I also want might or agility. Might, because I can add might to the unarmed attacks. He's a dragonkin, and he has the draconic diehard archetype, so he can't use weapons, and he used unarmed attacks whenever he gets into there. So I want might to do the damage, but I also want agility to deal with reflex save. Now, one thing that I did do, which makes things different, is that I did put 2 perks in the system because, and these perks, I'll name. One perk is for you can use your charisma saves in place of anything that requires a wisdom save. So I'll probably forget the wisdom and go with that, just go with that perk. I think it's like I made it 7th level. And then I did the same thing for might. You can use your might save. And the way I worded this, we'll start with charisma first. I had an interesting name, and I can get that later. That basically you're so in your own world and your force of will is so strong, is like, why care about what's happening around you? And I thought that was such a nice idea. And it captures that TV movie type feel. I don't know if you've seen it before, where a character is so charismatic, has everything going for him, that the just world shapes its way around the character. So there's that. And then the might instead of agility saving throw, I did that because I like the idea of a character being so strong that they don't get out the way of like a fireball. They're just so strong they take it, and it's in that sense use the might save. Now, I could have done it to do endurance instead of agility, but since I put a saving throw to each attribute, I want to give a way to reward players for picking those less used attributes, and the less used attributes would be the ones that don't typically apply to the saving throw. So that will be your might, your intelligence, your charisma. Endurance, agility, and wisdom are pretty much the most common saves. So it just, you can do anything. You can still do anything you want in Aetherbound versus Pathfinder 2e. They both have that. In Aetherbound, things start off and it's more of a gradual increase in power instead of having these specific set moments where you get a bunch of things and you get your attributes boost and you change things. And I like that gradual, slow approach and build up. And I would like my players to understand this and realize that at the lower levels, it's best to focus on what your class can do, and then wait if you want to do some fancy stuff. So if you're a spellcaster, eventually you can be a Gish if you build your character that way. But don't run up into combat if you didn't even invest in either endurance for more hit points or agility for more AC and things like that. And after I get more playtesting, I will figure out, is it possible to overshadow? Because as long as it doesn't overshadow a dedicated martial character who dedicates their build and the entire class fantasy is dedicated to something, then I think it's all right. I think everything is balanced, and I will see as a player, because I'm going to play in the most optimized way possible with the best things, because my main point in this is to try to break the system, and then I'll be able to see if things needs to be balance corrected. Also, we're playing Mythic, so hopefully things go well. I'll have another video on my thoughts about, from the GM perspective, GMing them in terms of monsters, because when I first saw the Champion's Glimpse of Redemption, I was all like, okay, so I attack this person and I have a choice to either not do the damage or automatically be enfeebled too, in this case. And then he later got a perk that allows him, it used to be feats in Pathfinder 2e, I call them perks, that can inflict stupefied instead. No save. I'm like, what the? That is crazy. That is overpowered. At first, I was going to have a resource cost for all the Glimpse of Redemptions, but then going back to the reliability versus curse versus burst capability, now I understand, okay, so they're martial characters. They can't break the existence of the world with spells that are able to create entirely new demi-planes and dimensions and things like that. So it's all right that it doesn't have a resource cost. So I took the resource cost away from that. Of course, there's a resource cost for the used to be focus spells. Now they're called talents. I have an 8 point requirement for that. I'm still keeping that. And this is another thing, Alchemist. I'm like, I do like this from a player point of view. And there's something I'm going to have to separate from my mind because I'm used to playing and DMing for 5th edition far longer than DMing for Pathfinder 2nd edition, is that in 5th edition, the mindset is you wear away their resources and then the combats become more difficult, versus the idea of Pathfinder 2e is that the combats are just difficult if you design them that way. The encounter system is solid pretty much, versus you don't have to wear away their resources. And Pathfinder 2e pretty much gives them unlimited resources. Exhibit A, the Alchemist. The Alchemist can replenish their versatile vows outside of combat, just spending 10 minutes. And I'm okay with that. I can GM around, okay, sure. You can spend all of this time after combat replenishing your vows, but things are still going on in the world. Things change. Of course, I'm not going to make things extraordinarily difficult just because they're going to replenish their stuff, because that's the design intention, that they replenish their stuff. It's key to their character build. I'm okay with that. And I really didn't realize that that was okay until I look at like a spellcaster and the cantrips, because 5th edition did this. And comparatively, if I'm being completely honest, okay, spellcasters get their cantrips, they get decently powerful, and they don't go away. So it's not overpowered that a alchemist can essentially have unlimited versatile vows. Even less so in the case that their versatile vows will be taken up during a combat, most likely, and they have to replenish afterwards, versus a spellcaster can cast cantrips as many times as they want. So martial characters should be able to cast, a champion should be able to use their champion reactions as many times as they want. Alternatively, I'm still not taking away the stamina requirement for the rage. I gave them 5+ endurance modifier per level. It just makes sense to me that rage requires the stamina. I have to keep the stamina there. So now part of my mind is like, what if barbarians can't rage anymore? They run out of stamina. And I'm all like, I don't think they should be running out of stamina, because it only requires 1 stamina point. You get stamina at level 0. You get stamina at each level. For barbarians, 5+ endurance modifier. Level 0, the stamina points are based on your species, and it's pretty much half the hit points you would get from your species. So there's that. And then you can take a short rest to spend your class die, and you can regain hit points, stamina points, or aether points. I still need to adjust that, because the spellcasters would always choose aether points, especially when they have the heal spell, which they should have the heal spell. And the martial characters, I guess they would choose between stamina or hit points. But the thing with the fighter, at least my fighter in my game, one of my players, he hasn't been using his ability, breath stance, that I gave fighters that require stamina points. I don't know why. He has the stamina points to spend. But anyway, I'll have to look into that. Hopefully I can push my players to actually test out this system. Is either have them go through encounters where they actually have to use their resources, or I test this out as a player myself. However, I can't do it for a fighter because I'm not playing a fighter, I'm playing a sorcerer. So hopefully we get another player. I did talk to someone today, and he is going to play a magus. I have to wait until that session to see if he if he will show up, because you know how things go online. So hopefully things go well. I have to see what magic type he chooses, because I'm going for a more Black Clover 7 Deadly Sins type magical knight versus a arcane knight wizard that the old magus was. And I think this will help differentiate Aetherbound more from Pathfinder 2e, which is my main goal. But that is everything. So thanks for watching.